Heroes of our story are Mallory Harrigan, Cliff, and Alan Russell. The trio was cruising the coastal waters of Labrador, Canada, looking for crabs. But they soon faced something totally unexpected. On a nearby iceberg, a creature appeared to be fighting. It looked cold and lonely, and ferocious seagulls plummeted it. Shaken by their plight, Harrigan and the two Russells felt like they had no choice but to intervene. Then they were met with a huge surprise. That was unfortunate because up to that point, things had been going very well sailing. It is true that the group was a bit behind schedule, but nothing untoward had happened. As Harrigan recalled to People magazine a month later, we had a delay at the start, but there was an unusual amount of ice that kept us from getting out. For all intents and purposes, the day had developed like any other. The trio sailed in their boat, a boat called the Northern Swan, to the Pinsent Arm Settlement. They were planned to stop to refuel, but as the crew headed to town, a typical day turned into an extraordinary one. Approximately 4 miles offshore, the crew spotted an iceberg. It looked like a mushroom, but that wasn't what caught the attention of the trio. Some kind of animal seemed to be trapped on it, and it seemed to need help. The iceberg was floating in the sea with the anguished animal stuck on top of it. Initially, the 3-person crew thought the creature was a seal. But if so, why didn't he jump out into the water and swim to safety? Probably because the animal was not a seal, nor was it any kind of sea creature. And without being a natural swimmer, the vulnerable creature would be stuck on that iceberg with no chance of being rescued. That would happen if the crew of the Northern Swan didn't get to work, and quickly. Fortunately, Harrigan, Cliff's partner, and his son Alan got down to business. The trio, it seems, could not pass the animal without putting their own agenda on hold and coming to their aid. But his rescue mission would not be easy. Yes, you can never be too sure what to find when you spot an iceberg, but the crew of the Northern Swan were still in shock when they approached the animal trapped in the iceberg in front of them. As they got closer, they realized that the identity of the animal was not what they had thought. Conversing with the dodo a few days after the dramatic incident, Harrigan recalled how they felt at the time. She said, "We thought it was a baby seal. However, they dispelled that theory as they got closer. So if it wasn't a seal, what had the crew seen?" To the surprise of the crew aboard the Northern Swan, the creature was not a marine animal. It was actually not any species you would expect to find this far out at sea. As Harrigan told People, it was a little Arctic fox. The fox is a wild animal. They did not know how he would react to their presence. But the crew put their worries aside and got to work. After all, if they left the animal, it would die. As Harrigan explained to the dodo, "We knew that we were their only chance to survive, as the winds had changed and this was causing the ice to drift further out to sea." But the animal fought with determination. The crew had to think hard about how to control the situation. Speaking to People, Harrigan explained what they did. She said, "We had to break the piece of ice it was on to be able to lift it." Once in the icy water, the fox struggled and struggled until it lost all of its energy. It was only then that the crew was able to get it on board. They made a temporary bed, allowing for the weakened creature to rest and regain its strength. Speaking to People, Harrigan said, "The fox crawled into a corner and curled up into a ball. We tried to feed him chips and cookies, whatever we had on hand, but he didn't eat for a long time. That concerned us, of course, since the animal needed to be fed." The crew members were concerned that their rescue had been in vain. Zorro's life seemed to be at risk anyway, and his survival was not guaranteed. But eventually, the creature made its way to its new sawdust bed, where it was able to rest and warm itself. Harrigan explained to People that the fox fell asleep as soon as he curled up on the bed, and he did not wake up for several hours. This is a testament to the terrible stress he must have endured on the iceberg. Eventually, the fox woke up and began to eat, and once they reached the mainland, the fox was released. There is no way to know exactly how it got caught on the iceberg, but its appearance gave us a clue. As Harrigan explained to People, a friend later explained to us that an Arctic fox must have brown fur at this time of year. The fact that its fur was still mostly white indicated that it had spent a long time out there, probably weeks. How you can see the fur of an Arctic fox turns white during the winter. This is very useful because it helps them blend in with the frozen territories. But when summer comes, the coat changes from white to brown or gray. This helps them to be camouflage after the ice melts. These adaptations help the Arctic fox hunt its prey, which in the summer can include birds, rodents, and fish. But when winter rolls around, food sources can be hard to come by. The fox could then turn to tracking polar bears, hoping to pick up some of their leftovers. Is it possible that it was a search for food that led Harrigan's Arctic fox to get stuck on that iceberg? The animal was probably trying to survive, but it found itself in a difficult situation. Fortunately, some good Samaritans sailed past just in time to save him.